Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, all of you viewers out there in YouTube land, for another edition of Journeys with Jack. Hopefully, I'm going to impart a couple of good tips for you, give you some food for thought. Today's episode is Dublin in a day. So, I had the good fortune to fly into Dublin from Riga, Latvia with my dear friends Sam and Olga Oliver on bargain airline Ryanair. Now, here's how that works. Be prepared. Ryanair, you can get a great deal, but you pay extra for everything. Checked bags, hand luggage, snacks, food, even water. So you can bring your own water, you can bring your own snacks, but don't bring any alcohol on the plane. So we were coming in from Eastern Europe, and there were a lot of workers coming from Eastern Europe to go labor in Ireland, and one Lithuanian fell up towards the front of the plane where we were and had brought on some liquor and started drinking it. He was warned by the steward not to do so. Then the pilot warned him, and he continued to do so. Well, when the plane landed, most of the passengers were delayed exiting the plane because the police came with a paddy wagon, came up the gangplank, took him off, and away he went to the jail. So don't make that mistake. All right, so we landed and we got a taxi, but it was at peak hours, so we had a little bit longer drive than normal over to the Arlington Hotel. Our taxi driver, great guy, Hassan, told me about how expensive Ireland had become for housing, food and beverage, really all essentials. He said it had gotten too crowded, etc. So he intended to return to his native Nigeria after he had earned enough money to split. Well, you get a lot of information from taxi drivers, etc. So always try to engage them and get some local lay of the land info. I found them to be quite accurate. I was astonished that the prices were much more like that one would encounter in a Scandinavian country like Denmark, etc., than what one would normally encounter in the British Isles. So the UK is a relative bargain compared to the Republic of Ireland. So the other thing that I really enjoyed with Hassan was his choice of eclectic radio station. Being an inveterate lover of all kinds of music, I found it whimsical, to say the least, that the wide variety of music covered about 60 or 70 years on this station. At one moment I heard Wichita Lineman by Glenn Campbell, and then shortly thereafter I heard Song for Whoever by the Beautiful South. Now, many of you might not have heard of this band, but I'd suggest that you check them out. They grew out of another great English band called the House Martins. The lead of both bands was a guy named P.D. Heaton, or also known as Paul Heaton. More about him later in the story. Anyway, we reached the Arlington Hotel, very conveniently located, right there on the banks of the Liffey, probably about a 2-minute walk from O'Connell Street, very close also to the Halfpenny pedestrian bridge. As we checked in, there was a little bit of a snafu about the rooms, and as my friends Sam and Olga went on upstairs to check into theirs, and I waited a bit for mine to be ready, I had a word with the manager, and things came out okay as he offered us free breakfast for the next 2 days, so we had a great deal with delicious Irish breakfast. And we were pleased with that, obviously. So Irish breakfast, similar to Welsh breakfast, similar to English breakfast, similar to Scottish breakfast, where you get sausage, beans, bacon, eggs, bread, tomato, mushroom, coffee or tea, etc. Great. Anyhow, so we went off to eat dinner shortly thereafter. Everybody was hungry, so we went on down to the pub nearby and had some fish and chips. Then Sam and Olga repaired their room, and I decided I'd walk a bit. So I made a little loop. I went down the street, crossed over the Halfpenny Bridge, and walked around Trinity College a little bit. It took about 7 minutes to get to Trinity College. Then I came down the other side of the Liffey and went into the Temple Bar area. I went to the namesake watering hole called Temple Bar, which dates back to the 1840s. And has received a James Joyce Award as an authentic Irish pub, or Dublin pub, I should say. James Joyce wrote the famous book Dubliners, and so kind of all things quintessentially Dublin might receive a James Joyce red plaque. So check the pictures on Instagram, etc. Hopefully you might see such. Then I came back over to the hotel, passing over the Halfpenny Bridge, the pedestrian bridge that crossed the Liffey. Very narrow bridge and named for the time when it would cost half a penny to walk across the bridge and thus cross the Liffey to the other side of Dublin. Well, we repaired into our rooms and spent the night there, and then the next morning got up, fueled up with a fantastic Irish breakfast, and it tasted even better since it was free. So there's another tip for you all. Make sure that if things are not right, you speak to the manager at the hotel, and usually there should be something done to compensate one for hassle, etc. And they certainly understand that rather well in Europe, maybe a bit better than some of the places in the States. So off we set that morning to go over to Trinity College to view the Book of Kells. So as I mentioned earlier, the Arlington, great convenient location. You can walk straight down the street from the Arlington, turn right, and go across the O'Connell Bridge, and then the road forks. You want to take the right-hand fork, the Westmoreland Street fork, and that'll lead you up to Trinity College. Now, the Book of Kells can be seen with a combined ticket for the Book of Kells and the old library at Trinity College. I'm going to suggest that you avail yourself of getting the combined ticket. It's not much more than a single ticket, and it's more affordable, and you see the two major tourist attractions at Trinity College. Now, Trinity College is very ancient, and the Book of Kells is even more ancient. The Book of Kells are the four Gospels, illustrated, hand-copied by monks on the island, I believe, of Iona, or an island of Scotland, and it was done about the time of 800 AD. Now, they had to retreat from the island of Iona due to repetitive Viking raids, and the Vikings would pillage the monastery, etc. The Book of Kells was saved somehow and brought to Ireland. This was sort of a reverse journey of St. Columba's monks. St. Columba years ago had led a mission over to northern England and Scotland area. So they came back and they went to the town of Kells. There in the town of Kells, over time, the place was ransacked by the same Vikings. The gold that bound the Book of Kells was looted, and then the Book of Kells was subsequently buried, forgotten, rediscovered, and around the time of the English Civil War and Oliver Cromwell, it was moved to Trinity College. This was about 1650 or so. It has to be remembered that Oliver Cromwell was destroying monasteries. He was a parliamentarian and Protestant. Sometimes he would even stable horses in cathedrals and monasteries. So anyway, the Book of Kells has been preserved. Now, only 2 pages are reviewed at a time. It's inside of a glass case, but there is a big display showing lots of information about what the monks did to copy manuscripts by hand, and how on occasion there might be an error arise, but also interestingly, sometimes they doodle in the margins. So there's some kind of neat little pictures there. I suppose they might have gotten bored or needed to take a break or something, probably their hand cramped up, who knows. But great display there. So I'm going to really suggest that you see the Book of Kells. To me, that's the #1 tourist attraction in Dublin. Now, just a hop, skip, and a jump away, maybe about a 100-yard walk across the compound at beautiful Trinity College, is the old library. It has a barrel-shaped ceiling, and inside is almost every kind of book you can think of. So, dating way back centuries, the library has this unique arrangement with publishers throughout the British Isles. I'm not quite sure how this works, but it's some sort of archaic law that every book published in the United Kingdom and Ireland, a copy of it has to be presented to the library at Trinity College. It's not really an exaggeration to say that they might have an infinite number of volumes. Well, maybe that is a bit of an exaggeration, but not far off. It's astonishing. Very beautiful setting. Great place for scholars to research archaic books, and lots of the knowledge that has been lost through history can be derived or found through the library there at Trinity College. Years ago, there was a book entitled How the Irish Saved Civilization. Not hard to imagine when one considers the Book of Kells and the work at the library at Trinity College. Well, subsequently, we finished up at the library and we left, and as I mentioned, very easy to get back to the Arlington Hotel. So let me brag on the Arlington Hotel just for a moment. Where it's situated, you can really see most of the things you want to see, and if you need to go farther afield, you can walk down to Conley Station and catch the Braze train. More on that in a minute. But from the Arlington Hotel, as I mentioned, it's just about a 2-minute walk up to the O'Connell Bridge, the Daniel O'Connell Monument to this great Irish patriot. It's maybe about a 7-minute walk to Trinity College, about 9 minutes to the famous shopping district Grafton Street, which was featured in another song by Paul Heaton and the Beautiful South. On Grafton Street is the Brown and Lewis department store and the Aaron Sweater Mills. Let me show you something from there. This was a souvenir that I got when I was in Dublin. I'd suggest you do the same. I want to show you this label so that you'll see what I'm talking about if you go over there. So this is Aaron Sweater Market. This is 100% merino wool. These were first made out on the Aran Islands for fishermen. Now I want you to look at the gorgeous patterns in this sweater. Very warm. So you can see a cable pattern, a knot pattern, some other pattern here that I'm not aware of, but there's about 4 distinct patterns. So the Aran sweaters, I think I counted something like 26 different types of patterns that were on display at the store. This is authentic, made in Ireland souvenir, very warm, delightful, very much coveted. So if you walk on from Grafton Street, probably about 4 more minutes, you get to St. Stephen's Green, which is a green space park right in the middle of Ireland. Lovely area. Then walking back, I found a side street off of Grafton's that had John Keogh's Pub. How did I wind up there? Well, it was pouring down rain. Later, on the Braze train one day, I learned from a girl that it seems to rain all the time in Ireland. Perhaps it's appropriate that I'm recording this in Savannah, Georgia while it's raining. Normally sunny Savannah is a rainy day today, so if you hear some background noise, it's the pitter-patter of rain on the rooftop. Nonetheless, John Keogh's Pub, as they would say in the British Isles, a proper boozer. It dates back greater than 100 years, has been frequented by many people, is just maybe a block off of Grafton Street, and as I said, I ducked in there due to the rain, and then I read the most interesting newspaper item about, yes, Paul Heaton from the Beautiful South. It seems that when this gentleman had his 60th birthday, that what he did was he chose 60 pubs in Ireland and the United Kingdom, 60 different pubs, and he paid an open tab so that whoever went there that day could have a drink for free to celebrate his birthday. Rather novel idea, I thought. Anyway, so when I'd walked around and came back through the Temple Bar area, I forgot to mention that that's the same area where U2 played on top of the namesake Temple Bar. That area also has lots of souvenir shops, and so if you're looking to buy a decal or a magnet for someone, I've got a friend of mine who likes to collect magnets, great place to do it. So let me proceed now and tell you about walking down to the Conley Station from the Arlington Hotel. Well, it's about a 2 to 3 minute walk. You just cross over the O'Connell Street where the statue is and you come up to the station. So that's what we did. We got on board the Braze train and rode out to Dunleavy, which is where the yacht clubs are located. By prior arrangement, I had set it up to where we could go to the Royal Irish Yacht Club and the Royal St. George's Yacht Club, and had lunch at the St. George's and went round to the Royal Irish Yacht Club and had a pint of Guinness there with some lovely members of the club who were quite gracious. Along the way, we saw the beautiful Irish sea coast, and we'd ridden through the old docks area and saw some beautiful Victorian architecture. Back to the hotel subsequently, ran out of time to try to go see the Guinness Brewery, but hey, trust me, there's Guinness all over Dublin. You don't have to go to the brewery, and I understand that it's a bit overpriced there for what you get. Perhaps next time I'll go visit it. Now, a couple of tips for you. You can tell that I'm very high on the Arlington Hotel. The convenience just simply can't be beat, very reasonably priced, and if something goes awry, they're going to make it right, as I experienced. The other thing, make sure you bring a raincoat. As I mentioned, a lady on the train pointed out to me that it rains almost all the time in Ireland. So just bear that in mind. Great place. Hassan was correct. It is expensive. They used the euro, which at the time I went was on par with $1. When I'm recording this, it's about $1.05 to a euro. But just be aware you're going to pay a bit much more, kind of like in Northern Europe and Scandinavia. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope this is helpful. Have a great day. I hope you have a good journey to Dublin. Bye-bye.